My name is Rachel, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the outsider in my own family. Not because I did anything wrong, but because I did everything right. I was the one who worked hard, who put in the extra hours, who built a life from nothing while everyone else coasted through theirs. While my siblings bounced from one failed job to another, I climbed the ladder. I earned a scholarship, graduated with honors, and eventually landed a high-paying job in finance. I wasn't flashy. I didn't throw it in anyone's face. I just lived quietly, responsibly, and with purpose. And yet, somehow that made me the enemy. You see, my family never celebrated my success. They tolerated it. They diminished it. My brother Mark, the so-called golden child, could do no wrong even when he was unemployed and irresponsible. My sister Lisa, the queen of passive-aggressive remarks, never let a dinner pass without reminding me that money doesn't buy happiness, even as she cashed the checks I sent her to cover her overdue rent. My mother acted like I was being dramatic any time I mentioned the favoritism, and my father? He simply looked the other way. Still, I tried. I showed up for every holiday with gifts. I paid for dinners, covered medical bills, and sent money monthly to help with whatever excuse they had. I thought, maybe if I just kept showing up, kept giving, they would finally accept me, that they'd see me as more than the daughter who thinks she's better than us. But I was wrong. The final straw came during a casual holiday gathering. As we sat around the dining room table, plates full of my mother's usual overcooked turkey, I smiled and mentioned how excited I was for the family reunion tomorrow. The silence that followed was deafening. Mark chuckled. The reunion was yesterday. Lisa sipped her wine, grinning. Didn't Mom tell you? My heart sank. I turned to my mother. You told me it was the 23rd. She shrugged. Oops, must have gotten the dates mixed up. It wasn't a mistake. It was a message. Everyone had been there. Cousins, aunts, uncles, even nieces and nephews. There were photos, laughter, joy, all without me. They didn't forget me. They excluded me. And the worst part? They didn't even try to hide it. I stood up, walked out into the freezing air, and realized something that changed everything. I was done. I wasn't going to keep pretending. I wasn't going to keep giving pieces of myself to people who never wanted me whole. That night, I started thinking about all the money I'd been sending, all the sacrifices I'd made, and for what? To be the family's invisible benefactor? Not anymore. I sat at that dining table, surrounded by the people I had called family my whole life, and for the first time, I saw them clearly, not as parents or siblings, but as opportunists. Mark sat across from me, grinning like he had pulled off the greatest joke of the century. Lisa hid her smirk behind a glass of wine, her voice sugar-coated with sarcasm. And my parents? They just kept eating like nothing was wrong, like they hadn't just excluded me from an entire family reunion and expected me to sit there, smile, and move on. But I didn't lash out. I didn't yell or demand an apology. Instead, I made a choice right then and there. I was going to show them who they had underestimated. So I leaned back in my chair, twirling my fork, and shifted the conversation. You know, I said lightly, I've been thinking about the money I send every month. Silence. In an instant, the atmosphere changed. Lisa's grip on her wine glass tightened. My mother froze mid-bite. My father actually looked up from his plate for the first time all evening. Mark, ever the fool, tried to play it cool. What about it? I laid it out for them. How I had been covering Lisa's rent, my parents' medical bills, and Mark's emergencies for years. Not once had I asked for thanks, but in return, they gave me exclusion, passive jabs, and zero respect. That's when Mark made his fatal mistake. He laughed. Come on, Rachel. I already bought the new Jordans with this month's money. You're not actually cutting us off over this stupid misunderstanding, right? The room fell silent again. This time, it wasn't awkward. It was fearful. And in that moment, I saw it all. The entitlement, the years of them viewing me not as a person, but as a bank account. My success wasn't admired. It was expected to be shared, no matter how poorly they treated me. I stood up slowly, grabbed my purse, and looked each of them in the eye. You all turned your backs on me a long time ago, I said quietly, and now I'm doing the same. As I walked out, my phone began buzzing. Texts, calls, voicemails, Lisa begging, my mother guilt-tripping, Mark demanding, but I didn't answer. Instead, I poured myself a glass of wine at home, sat back on the couch, and for the first time in years, I felt free. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't heartbroken. I was done. The next day, the panic really set in. More texts, more missed calls. Mark was spiraling. He had made large purchases assuming I'd foot the bill like always. A new TV, a PS5, a laptop, all ordered under the assumption that Rachel will send the money. But Rachel wasn't sending anything. Eventually, Mark even showed up at my door, disheveled and desperate. "You can't do this," he said, eyes wide. "You don't understand. They're going to charge my card." I looked at him, really looked, and said, "You made your bed. Now lie in it." And I shut the door, because being family doesn't mean enduring disrespect. It doesn't mean sacrificing your peace for people who only love what you can give. That night, I slept better than I had in years, and I didn't wake up to regrets, only peace. Mark showed up at my door the next morning looking like he hadn't slept a minute. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair disheveled, and there were dark circles under his eyes. The confident smirk he always wore was gone, replaced with panic. When I opened the door, he didn't even wait for me to speak. "Rachel," he started, voice tight, "we need to talk." I crossed my arms and leaned against the door frame. "About what? I thought I made myself clear last night." His jaw clenched. "You did, but look, I messed up, okay? I admit it, but I need your help. This one time." I raised an eyebrow. "One time? Like the last one time? Or the time before that?" He groaned and rubbed the back of his neck. "Come on, you have the money. It's not like it's gonna hurt you." That was the problem. They always thought it didn't hurt me, like the emotional weight of being used didn't count because I could afford it. "I'm not your safety net, Mark," I said calmly. "You think my success is yours to spend, and it's not." He let out a heavy sigh. "Rachel, I don't have time for this. The charges hit my card today. You either help me or I'm screwed." I stared at him. "Maybe it's time you felt what that's like." His expression shifted, first shock, then anger. "So you're really going to let this happen? You're going to let your brother drown over something petty?" I tilted my head. "Petty? Is that what this is to you? Forgetting to invite me to the family reunion was petty. Treating me like I didn't exist was petty. Using me for money while pretending I'm the problem? That's not petty, Mark. That's cruel." He started pacing on my front porch, running his hands through his hair. "This is insane. You're acting like some heartless executive. You used to be kind, Rachel." "I was kind," I replied, my voice still level. "Too kind. So kind that I let you all walk all over me for years. But I'm done playing that role." He stopped pacing and looked at me, eyes narrowed. "So that's it? You're just done? What about family?" "You all turned your backs on me the moment I stopped being useful. That's not family, that's convenience." He looked like he wanted to scream, but instead he spit out the words, "You're going to regret this." I didn't even flinch. "Maybe," I said, "but at least I won't be regretting another month of being your doormat." Then I shut the door. I stood there for a moment, hand still on the knob, listening to him curse and stomp down the steps like a child who didn't get his way. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I just felt free. When I returned to my living room, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Mom. "Rachel, what did you do? Mark is furious. You need to fix this." Fix this, as if it was my responsibility to clean up the mess they made. I replied with one sentence. "I'm done. Don't ever ask me for money again." Then I blocked their numbers. I spent the rest of that day in complete peace. No guilt, no anxiety, just quiet. For once, I wasn't waiting for the next emotional ambush. For once, I had chosen myself, and that was the best decision I'd ever made. A week had passed since I cut off all contact with my family. No calls, no texts, just silence. It was unsettling at first, but strangely peaceful. I had spent years waiting for their approval, and now, for the first time, I was learning what it felt like to be free from their grasp. That peace didn't last long. It was a cold Thursday evening. I was curled up on the couch reading when the doorbell rang. I froze. No one ever visited unannounced. I stood slowly and peeked through the peephole, and my stomach dropped. Mark. Behind him stood my mother, wrapped in a bulky coat, eyes tired and red-rimmed, and further back, Lisa, arms crossed tightly, her expression unreadable. All three of them, on my doorstep. For a moment, I considered pretending I wasn't home, but I knew them. They wouldn't leave that easily. I opened the door just a crack. "What do you want?" I asked flatly. "Rachel," my mom began, voice shaking, "please, can we talk?" I looked at her, at them, the people who had treated me like a convenience, a walking wallet, the ones who smiled at me during dinner while hiding a reunion behind my back. "Now you want to talk?" I asked. "Where was this energy on my birthday? Or when you all gathered without me? Or when Mark was bragging about spending the money I sent on new Jordans?" Lisa stepped forward. "Rachel, we know we messed up. Things are bad right now, really bad. We need help." There it was, the honesty, finally. Not love, not regret, just need. I let out a hollow laugh. "So that's what this is about. You didn't come here to apologize. You came here to beg." Mark's jaw clenched. "That's not fair." "No?" I snapped. "Let me be clear. I'm not your lifeline anymore." My mother's eyes filled with tears. "We're your family." Number your users who pretended to be family, and now that you're falling apart, you're crawling back. Mark stepped forward, voice rising. "You're seriously gonna let us fall like this? You think you're better than us now?" "I know I'm stronger," I said calmly, "because I built my life without stabbing anyone in the back." "Come on," he scoffed. "It was just a reunion." "No," I said. "It was the final straw." He looked desperate now, his eyes darting between me and Mom. "We can't pay the rent," my mom said. "We don't have anything left." "And yet," I replied, "you always seem to have enough energy to look down on me." I started closing the door. "Wait," Lisa said, finally speaking. "Please, you're our sister." I paused just for a breath. "And you were supposed to be mine." And then I shut the door. I stood there, heart racing, but I wasn't shaking. I didn't feel guilt, just a strange, settled calm. For the first time in my life, I didn't let them in. And this time, I wouldn't change my mind. It had been 2 weeks since I shut the door in their faces. Since then, the messages had slowed. The calls dwindled. Silence had taken hold again, but this time it didn't bring peace. It brought clarity. They hadn't changed. They had simply lost their leverage. I spent the days focusing on work, pouring energy into my clients and the tutoring business that I had built from scratch. At night, I'd sit by the window of my apartment, watching the city lights flicker below me. Each light reminded me of how far I'd come, from the girl they said was too cold, too focused, too selfish, to the woman who finally said, "Enough." Then one afternoon, my phone buzzed again. It was Lisa, not a call, just a message. "Oh, hey, I know you probably won't answer, but Mark's not doing well. He maxed out his cards. Rent is overdue, and Mom, she's been sick, really sick. I just thought you should know." I stared at the screen, expressionless. Was it true, or was it another performance? I didn't respond. Later that night, another message, this time from Mom. "Rachel, I'm sorry. I know I don't say it enough. Maybe I never said it at all, but I'm sorry. I was wrong about a lot of things." That one made me pause. Apologies were rare from her, almost mythical. Growing up, I could have counted them on one hand, maybe even one finger. Still, I didn't reply, because I knew that real change didn't come in a text message. The next day, Mark tried. "You win, okay? I was an ass. But I'm drowning here. I need help. I'll pay you back, I swear." It was almost funny. He thought this was about winning. This wasn't a game. This was my life. I sat on the edge of my bed and reread every message, every desperate plea, every last-minute confession. For a brief moment, I considered responding. But what would I say? That I forgave them? That I'd start sending money again? I had made my choice, and now they had to live with theirs. Still, part of me wanted closure. Not revenge, not cruelty, just the truth. One final message, from me to them. So I opened the family group chat, the one they had used to plan the reunion without me. And I typed, "I'm glad you're finally realizing what I meant to this family. I'm not angry anymore, just tired. Tired of being the one who gives while everyone else takes. You didn't invite me to the table, so I built my own, and I like it better. Don't reach out again unless it's about something real. Because I'm no longer your safety net. I'm just Rachel, and I'm finally living." I hit send, and then I left the group chat for good. It felt final. Later that night, I turned off my phone completely. I poured myself a glass of wine, curled up on the couch, and watched a movie alone. And I smiled, not because I had hurt them, but because I had healed something inside myself. For the first time in decades, I wasn't carrying their weight anymore. And I wasn't going to start again. Days passed, then weeks. I hadn't heard from anyone in my family since I sent that final message and left the group chat. There was no apology, no follow-up, no confrontation, just silence. And oddly enough, it felt peaceful. My mornings were calm, my evenings mine alone. I didn't wake up dreading the guilt-tripping texts or the draining phone calls. For once, my life belonged to me. Then one morning, I opened my email and saw a message from Mark. The subject line read, "Just read this, please." My first instinct was to delete it, but something made me pause. Maybe curiosity, maybe closure. I clicked it open. "Rachel, I know you don't want to hear from me, and I probably don't deserve even this email, but I have to try. I messed up. I know that. You've done more for this family than anyone ever gave you credit for. I was selfish and stupid and entitled. I thought you'd always be there because you always had been. I never thought about how much it must have hurt you to be left out, overlooked, or used. You were right to cut us off. But I'm writing because I need you to know this. I finally get it, and not because I'm in trouble again, but because I looked around and realized that without you, this family fell apart. Mom's health isn't great. Lisa's in her own world, and I've been sitting in this apartment thinking about every time I laughed at your success, every time I dismissed your help like it was owed to us. I'm not asking you to fix anything. I just want to say I'm sorry. I hope you're well. I really do." Mark. I stared at the screen for a long while. It didn't feel like the usual guilt trip. It wasn't begging. It was different. And it hit me. Maybe he had finally grown up. Still, I didn't respond. Because healing isn't a straight line and forgiveness doesn't have a deadline. I needed time, not for revenge or resentment, but for myself. That night, I went for a walk through my neighborhood. The city was quiet, the air crisp. I passed families gathered around dinner tables, the warm glow of their homes spilling out onto the street. Once, I would have looked at that and felt envy. But now, I felt something else. Freedom. It was the freedom of knowing I had rebuilt myself from nothing. The strength of walking away without needing applause. The peace that comes from standing tall, even if you're standing alone. I wasn't bitter anymore, just wiser. The truth is, families are complicated. They can be a source of deep love or deep wounds. But at some point, we all have to choose who gets access to our energy, our generosity, our hearts. I had spent years giving to people who didn't value me. Now, I gave to myself, not out of spite, out of self-respect. Sometimes the hardest part of life isn't surviving the pain. It's walking away from people we once thought we couldn't live without. Rachel's story isn't just about family betrayal or financial manipulation. It's about awakening. About the moment someone looks around and realizes that love, real love, should never come with a price tag. That respect, support, and inclusion are not privileges to be earned, but birthrights in a healthy family. And when that's denied over and over again, the most powerful thing a person can do is say, "No more." It took Rachel years to reach that moment, years of enduring condescension, being left out of important moments, mocked for her achievements, and treated as nothing more than a bank account. She never asked for praise. She just wanted to be treated like a daughter, a sister, a member of the family. Instead, she became a convenient safety net, expected to pay bills, cover irresponsible spending, and silently tolerate emotional neglect. What she did wasn't cruel. It was necessary. She made the choice so many struggle to make, especially those raised with the belief that family is everything. But family should never mean sacrificing your dignity to keep the peace. It should never mean being used until you're emotionally or financially drained. Sometimes protecting your peace means building boundaries even when they hurt. And sometimes those boundaries are the beginning of real healing. This story reminds us all, especially those of us in later stages of life, that it's never too late to choose self-respect. That saying no doesn't make you selfish. That letting go of people who consistently hurt you doesn't mean you're bitter. It means you finally love yourself enough to stop bleeding for people who wouldn't offer you a bandage. If you've ever been the one who gave too much, stayed too long, or forgave too quickly, Rachel's story is for you. And if you're someone who's caused that kind of pain, maybe it's time to reflect, to reach out, to apologize before the silence becomes permanent. If this story moved you or reminded you of your own experience, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel, Reddit Family Files, for more true stories that reveal the raw, complicated beauty of real-life family dynamics. Your voice matters, your story matters, and here, you're not alone.